This message is brought to you by House on the Rock Fellowship. We're a church that serves and cares for the Miami Valley region in Ohio. Before you continue, make sure to access the notes from our download section of our message page and have your Bible ready. Thank you for being our guest.
Good morning. To guests, my name is Paul. I'm the pastor and teacher here. My son Lucas had just come up to me in between services with his phone and said, "Hey, I got to show you this thing on Instagram." It was a guy talking about what it's like being a pastor's kid and kind of highlighting the fact, like, yeah, I have to be careful on Saturday nights because if I do something stupid, my dad will use it during a sermon. And say, well, Luke, it's funny that you brought that up. When Lucas was really small infant, it seemed like we always had him in the ER for some reason or a medical attention. I had his permission to share all these stories, please. Most of the time I do that. He had to get an x-ray, and this is seared in my memory, probably the same way it's seared in his subconscious memory. Have you ever seen how they take x-rays of infants? Yeah, it's cruel and unusual punishment because that child doesn't lie there. It doesn't really say, hey, don't move. It's an infant. So they put them in this brace that kind of locks them in place. And he's looking at me and I'm looking at him, and it's the face of complete, Dad, I can't trust you anymore because, Dad, look what they're doing to me. And that, Lucas went through multiple situations like that when he was an infant. We found out, we took him in because he was walking a little wobbly as a toddler. And we took him in and they're like, hey, he has a splinter in his foot. I'm like, oh, it's been there for about 4 months, it looks. Father of the year. And so they're like, Dad, we need you to hold him down. And so you can imagine the look of this toddler as Dad is pressing him down so they can find the local expert in the ER to dig this thing out of his foot. And again, the look from child to father was, Dad, what are you doing? Like, Dad, I am in pain. Like, and Dad, you're pressing me, Dad. You're hurting me, Dad. Dad, why are you doing this? At another point, Lucas had gotten so dehydrated somehow, whether it was a sickness, we had to take him in and get him fluids. I sound like Father of the Year, don't I? Getting ready to teach a parenting class in a few weeks if you wanted to know. And so they had to give him an IV. There's just no way that they could get enough fluids inside of him. You can imagine, Lucas is a beast, but back then, real small veins, real small arms. He was an infant, 6-7 months old. Elise had come down to meet me at the ER, and she could even hear him screaming as she walks into the building and tells her, hey, that's my kid. They're like, hey, And to come back there, and again, it's, Dad, you need to hold him down while we try to get this needle in the crook of his arm. For 25 minutes, they are trying to get this needle into his arm, okay? Eventually, we say, hey, listen, you're done. Like, no, we'll get it. We'll get someone else who's really good. Like, no, you should have got that person the first time, okay? This isn't practice run. Again, the look on Lucas's face at Dad was, Dad, at some point, you're going to be old, and I'm going to hold you down. And I'll have the needles. Dad, why is it, Dad, that when I am in so much pain and I'm hurting, why is it, Dad, from my perspective, you're hurting me? Dad, you're holding me down. Father, why are you letting this happen to me? Father, why would you do this? Have you know what that feels like? That in the midst of pain and confusion, hurt, you look, and from your perspective, all it does is looks like the Father's holding you, binding you, and hurting you. And you're like, Father, what's going on? We teach a catechism class here at the church in the evenings at 5 o'clock. It's one of those programs I think everybody should go through. Not just because I helped write it, but because it's really important that you have a strong foundation in your faith. And tonight they begin the beginning part of the creed. I believe in God the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth. And how important that is in our theology, in our lived theology, that I live in the place where I understand what it means that God is Father, then Almighty, then maker of heaven and earth. Because in our lived theology, we'll understand God as Almighty. God, yeah, Almighty, Almighty. He's in charge. He's in charge of everything. He's powerful. And those moments of pain where it feels like he's manhandling us and limiting us and constraining us and, from our perspective, hurting us. Well, that's God. He'll hurt you. He'll hurt you. Or he's maker of heaven and earth. Yep, God made stuff. He made the stuff. All the stuff, he made it. But beyond that, I don't think he's that involved. That's why you have to start with, I believe in God the Father. What does it mean that he's Father? That in the midst of pain and hardship and confusion, when it feels like everything is holding me down and holding me back, and I feel like I'm being cut open and hurt, it is my Father's hands. But he loves me very much. Jesus was speaking to this in John chapter 15, hours before he's going to be crucified and taken away from his disciples. He unpacks what I believe is a very, very important idea for all followers of Jesus. In John chapter 15, verses 1 through 3, let's read it together. Ryan's going to bring it up. Would you read this with me? I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away. Every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes, that it may bear more fruit. Already you are clean because of the word I have spoken to you. And you might, from your perspective, say, but I don't know how that has anything to do with Father or love or the pain that I currently find myself in. Well, maybe we need to unpack what it means to know a vine dresser. A vine dresser, in that language, it could easily be a farmer, a gardener, a vine dresser. This is someone who carefully cultivates plants, the land. And you just kind of have to read from context how we should translate the word. Are we talking about a farmer? Are we talking about a gardener? Are we talking about a vine dresser? And Jesus, in this context, is talking about grapevines. Well, to be a vine dresser is a very careful, hands-on work. The same way anyone, farmer, gardener, who works to cultivate things. A vine dresser carefully cultivates to produce fruitful vines. That's what they do. They carefully cultivate, carefully work on. You talk to vine dressers in the Napa Valley. You go to the hillside of Burgundy in France, and you talk to vine dressers. Hey, can't you build a machine to do this? No. If you're going to nurture and care for grapevines, there's no machine that gets it done quicker. A vine dresser has to go through vine by vine, branch by branch, up and down that vineyard, and put his hands on, meticulously, carefully, every single facet of that plant so that it will produce and be everything that it could possibly be. And Jesus unpacks a little bit some of the things that a vine dresser will do in the life of that vine, in the life of those branches. One of the things is he cuts away dead things. Okay? And if you're someone who takes notes, that might be something that you want to remember. That in the Father's love and compassion for me, he will cut dead things away. He will cut dead things away. Why? Well, because you can't leave dead branches, dead vines attached to the main plant. Those are open doors for pests and diseases. And so he has to go through and cut things, remove things. So much so that the only answer is to burn them away. Now, what you might want to do is you might want to jump to some kind of questions about end times and eschatology. Oh, are we talking about the Father? Is he throwing souls into the fire? You're asking the wrong questions. You're taking the passage to the wrong place. This passage isn't about what the Father does for your spouse or what the Father does for your neighbor or what the Father does for unsaved, saved. You need to ask yourself one question this morning. What does this passage say to me? What does this passage say to me this morning as I understand it, as Pastor Paul interprets it? What does it mean to me that the vine dresser will cut away dead things that do not produce fruit? What's the priority? A fruitful life. A fruitful life. And so, yes, a vine dresser and his care for that vine goes through and will remove things that would invite pest and disease that could infiltrate that branch, that vine, and ruin an entire vineyard. He will cut things away to protect the harvest to come and the entirety of that vineyard. How many of you guys understand a little bit of what it means to see something cut away? Yeah, sure. Things that do not produce fruit. Gospel, Christ-centered fruit. He'll cut things. He'll prune things. Let's unpack pruning for a little bit. There's 3 ways that we can understand pruning. I watched a lot of videos on YouTube this week so that I could sound like I know what I'm talking about. My wife grew up in vine country and wine country. I grew up in an apple orchard. I found that they're completely different. So I had to watch a lot of, and I saw some videos of some guys in Napa Valley talking about what pruning and the process of pruning is. They said one of the things that a vine dresser is very concerned about is the shape of the plant, shaping it. You see, they want to accommodate for as much light as they possibly can. So the shape is very, very important. So they might go through at various times of the year and remove branches, pull back, open things up, tie things here, tie things there, so that it would be exposed to as much light as it can possibly get. And even as this one guy was talking, he's just walking, he's plucking a leaf here, he's plucking a leaf here, he's tucking this back in here, he's moving this over here, he's kind of lashing things, so that the shape accommodates for fruitfulness. So that the shape of the vine can get as much sunlight as possible. Also, he's thinking about temperature. Is it going to be too cold? Is there enough foliage there to protect the fruit? Is it going to be too hot? Is there enough circulation? The Father is very concerned about the shape of your life. The shape of your life. Does your life accommodate for as much light as possible? Are things getting in the way? Are things robbing you, darkening you, covering you, that keep Christ and the message of his word getting in? So he's concerned about how your life is shaped. How many of you know what it's like for God to create space in your life? Yeah. For God to open things up. For God to create room. Yeah. Well, I've been there. I've seen that season. But beyond shaping, well, we shouldn't be surprised. Let's actually talk about pruning. The actual cutting. These are pruning shears. I had to sneak these out of the house. These are her expensive ones. She has little plastic ones that she lets me use. They don't really cut anything. This will get the job done. This is serious work here. He'll go through and he'll cut away shoots and suckers that would take away energy from the branches and the vines that he's designated to produce fruit. And so there's other things that will just grow up that, boy, that's green. That looks good. What a busy looking plant. He doesn't want busy plants. He wants productive plants. Maybe I should say that again. He doesn't want busy plants. He wants productive plants. You can go through a garden warehouse, you could go through a greenhouse, you could go through a store and say, wow, look at that busy plant. It's just going all over the place. You could drive by someone's house and say, wow, look at that garden. It's so busy. There's a lot of things that are going on. But to see a master vine dresser with a pair of shears take a busy plant and prepare it to be a fruitful plant, you'd think he was a butcher. You'd think in fact, maybe this would be helpful. Let me just kind of walk you through some of the main seasons of a grapevine. Go ahead, Ryan, just bring up the first one. So you see this is the dormant period. I learned a new thing. Pruning, the main pruning, the expensive, most important part of pruning happens after harvest. I didn't know that. I just thought he's going to walk around like I do. Like I walk around my backyard, just start cutting stuff. Like this is probably why she only lets me hold a little plastic baby scissors. Because I'm just like, yeah, I'm like a barber, butcher, Sweeney Todd. After the harvest, after this amazing harvest, because he will go through and he will take this beautiful, beautiful vine and he'll do this to it. He cuts it way back because he's noticed, oh, that's not producing the way it could. We need to change the shape of this. This needs to go this way. So I'm going to cut here and I'm going to prune here. I'm going to lash here as the vine enters into its dormant season, which lasts for months. But then in spring, in our time, we're talking March and April. Go ahead, Ryan. Buds start to break through where he had cut before. Go back to the one before it, right? Like, you look at that and you think, he killed it. He killed it. There's nothing there. There's nothing growing. He has no idea what he's doing. He butchered it. Well, he knows things that most people don't. Because come spring, go ahead, Ryan, this starts to happen. Exactly the way he's designated it, he's planned it, and prepared it. Where he needs shoots, wants to see fruit. And then over the next few months, go ahead, Ryan, those buds begin to bloom and you have these clusters, these fruit sets. They'll eventually, through the summer months, continue to grow into what we all like to see, right? We like that picture, don't we? Oh, can I have that life? Jesus, can I have that life? I want that life picture. I want my Christian life to look like this, where it's warm and it's sunny and it's Napa Valley and charcuterie boards and cheese trays, and I want fruitful harvest life. Can I have that picture, Jesus? Yeah, we love that one. But the amazing thing is, it takes all of those seasons to produce those grapes. All of those seasons. The dormant seasons, the budding seasons, the growing seasons, the harvest seasons. Crazy thing. I did the math, and I'm not good at math. I'm bad at math. Got to keep it below 10, okay? Okay? Of all of those seasons, which one do you think lasts the longest? I'll give you a hint. It's not this one. Isn't that interesting? This is not the longest season. In fact, it's a very quite narrow window if you're going to do it and do it right. Out of the 12 months of the year, you might get the harvest time from maybe over across 1 or 2 months, depending on what the weather will let you do. It's not this one. It's not this one. That one up there, it's maybe 2 or 3 weeks in March and April where bud breaking starts to happen. The longest season in the life of the vine is that one right there. The dormant season. When it is resting and it is drawing in and it is rooting. Where from the outside, it don't look like anything's happening. In fact, it looks like someone screwed up. But in those moments, the branches and the vines are pulling in all the strength and the nutrients that they possibly can, so that when it's time, buds break, shoots rise, and we behold a harvest. In all of that, one of the other things that the vine dresser will do is leverage stress in the life of the vine. He intentionally stresses it, strains it, makes life, some of you are already nodding your head, you know it. Already, he will make your life difficult. I learned something new. Bad soil yields better fruit. When it comes to grapes, bad soil, sandy, silty, clay soil is the very thing that a vine dresser is looking for. If the soil is too fertile, if it's the kind of soil that you think you go to Andy's and buy in the big yellow bags, right? Like, oh, look, this will produce an amazing harvest, right? That is a vine dresser's nightmare, because it's too easy for the grapevine. It won't draw on and feast on and root the way it needs to produce the best grapes. If the soil's too easy on the plant, you get fat, watery, tasteless grapes. You guys know what helicopter parents are, right? Right? Helicopter parents constantly hovering, constantly maneuvering all the stress and the strain in the child's life, making things as easy. Snowplow parents that go ahead of them to make sure that life is nice and easy and they don't experience any stress or any strain. I'm doing this parenting class in a few weeks. I'm practicing my illustrations. Helicopter parents produce hell on earth kids. Helicopter parents will produce hell on earth kids. Kids that are not ready to face the world. And so a good parent knows how to leverage. You know what? You're going to have to face that dragon, buddy. Yeah, you got to figure that one out. Well, what if you did? Nope, not doing it. Not doing it. You need to figure that out. A good vine dresser is mindful of temperature and climate, terroir, what's going on in the earth, and the roughness, the ruggedness, the rockiness, the slant of. Like, this is hard to grow on. Yeah, you know what? When things get like this in life, you know what you start to do? You start holding on. You start gripping. You start grabbing. So a good vine dresser, the good vine dresser, will leverage bad soil that he would produce in you better fruit. Better fruit. Well, Pastor Paul, you don't know what I grew up in. Was it hard? Was it rough? Oh, you don't know where I work. Is it hard? Is it rough? Oh, you don't know what it's like with my spouse. Is it hard? Is it rough? He looks at that soil and he says, oh, do you know what we could grow there? Do you know what we could grow there? He'll shape it. He'll shear it. He'll stress it. And then the last verse 3, it says, you're already clean because of the word that I've spoken to you. Clean, new plants, especially grapevines, because of what they need and require, have to be trussed up, tied up, washed to make sure there's no dirt that's been, through rains, so that it can draw on all the sun that it possibly can. So he's talking about a clean plant, one that's been prepped and trussed and tied and washed so that it can grow and thrive. He says, you are already that. Which means that when I'm early to Christ and young to Christ, I can expect the Father to do those things. I can expect some very important structure. I can expect him to go very hands-on as things start to separate in my life, as he removes certain things from me and certain spaces from me so that I am washed and I practice and stay washed, and so that I have the support that I need so that I can thrive. I learned something new. The older a vine is, the more fruitful it's expected to be. Well, I put my time in. I retired from that. Do you know what they do with retired grapevines? Do you know what you do with there's no happy pasture for grapevines. There's no putting the grapevine out to pasture. You know what they do with that? Yeah, you burn them. Let me challenge my older, senior brothers and sisters, my mothers and fathers in the faith. The older you are in the faith, the more fruitful He expects you to be. As your life produces a sweetness to it, a joy about it, something that the other plants who are going through the Father's shearing and pruning might have some context. Boy, I feel like God just ripped me apart. Oh yeah, He'll do that. Man, He just cut that. Oh, He'll do that. Oh, I don't know. I just feel like nothing's growing right now. I feel like I'm not making any progress in my Christian life. I feel like it's just so cold and dormant right now. Oh, yeah. You'll go through that. You just soak up as much light as you possibly can. You root in that word as much as you possibly can, because He's preparing you for a harvest that's beyond anything you can imagine. But it just hurts so much. Yeah, it hurts. Yeah, it hurts. It hurts so it'll heal. There's fruit on the way. We go through these seasons. So if this is what He's doing in His fatherly love and care as a vine dresser, cutting away death, pruning, shaping, stressing, cleaning, what do? Do we just go along for the ride? Right? I think there's a way that we can lean in our Christian life. Focus on produce is a suggestion I would make. Focus on produce. Again, He's not looking for busy plants. He's looking for productive plants. Fruitfulness. We so idolize and glamorize busyness. Look how busy I am. Oh, I can't. I'm just so busy right now. Oh, you have no idea what pruning looks like then. He doesn't want you to be busy. He wants us to be fruitful. So I go through my life and I ask myself, with the guidance of the Holy Spirit, an honest question. Spirit, is there anything here in my life that's limiting light? Is there anything that's limiting the light of Jesus working in me and on me? Is there things that are getting in the way? Are there things that the Father just would have be removed that's not producing fruit? Fruit. Christ-centered, gospel-sweet fruit. So I look at my hobbies. I look at my habits. I look at my time, how I spend money, how I use my gifts, meetings that I attend. Is Jesus in the center of it? Does this decision fuel the gospel in me? Or does it cover Jesus up? Does it rob me of light instead of exposing me to more light? Where is this producing gospel fruit? Where is this relationship fostering, cultivating gospel fruit? If Jesus isn't in the center of it, you don't want anything to do with it. Well, it's a dark environment. Well, that means you are the Jesus that's in the center of it, so you better be Jesus in the center of it. Well, I like to go to the bar on Friday nights so I can hang out with sinners. Okay. You open that can. Let's talk about that. Who are you inviting to church on Sunday morning? Well, I really don't remember very much on Friday night. Yeah, then you are definitely have missed that one. Sure, leverage those environments. Leverage those opportunities. My wife and I try to be very involved with the boys' soccer program at the high school. Some of you are here because we bumped into each other through soccer at Troy. I'm the chaplain for the varsity soccer team, okay? So before the boys had a game last night, Coach Phillips did his talk, and they know me because the boys were with me last year. I'm like, guys, take a knee. And all of them, 22 of them, boom, took a knee right there, and we prayed. We prayed that our attitude would reflect God, that we would be honorable in how we play, that He would bless and protect our opponents, because at the end of the day, they're actually a gift that reveals the weakness in us. They're not the enemy. They're just showing me the enemy within. My son hates it when I bring that up. But we are involved in those environments where sometimes there's not light because we're called to be the light, but that means we need to actually be the light in those environments. Does that make sense? Focus on the produce. And be thankful for the process. Be thankful for the process. Ryan, could you bring up the seasonal one that has all four? Oh, there. How did you do this? Has it been up there the whole time? He's so good. We have great volunteers. This is the process. And we'll go through it again and again and again. I will go through seasons of resting. I'll go through seasons of growing, and I'll learn new things, and He'll show me new disciplines, and I'll lean in, and things are growing, and it's awesome. But there's also pruning, and there's cutting, and there's moments that are going to be harvestful and sweet and joyful, and moments that are hard. And so I can be thankful for the process. I can be thankful for the process. For the moments where things are growing, or the moments where things are resting, the moments when things are harvest plentiful. We all want this, don't we? We all want, can you make that one big? Make it really big. Oh yeah, we like it big. Oh, so good. But if we want this, you know what we also have to be thankful for? We have to be thankful for this. To learn to be thankful for the shears that clean and cut and prune and shape. Maybe that means that we could also be patient a little bit with each other. Could we do that? It's hard for me because I read the whole book. Only one person gets these. I want them. I know what needs to be cut in people's lives. I know what needs to be trimmed. I know what needs to be removed. I know exactly what needs to happen in that marriage. Oh, you let me get a hold of that kid and I'll go to town. Oh, you let me talk. I'll talk to your husband. I'll fix things. Oh, I know exactly what needs to go. Thanks be to God, He's the only one who holds the shears. And so maybe I can be patient with you, and you could be patient with me. That He who began a good work in you will see it through to completion. Amen? Yeah. So being thankful for the process. No matter what season you find yourself in, the Father is very hands-on. And maybe it feels like nothing. That's exactly what should be going on. you keep leaning in and you keep sucking it up. You just keep breathing in that light as much as maybe there's growth. You keep fueling that growth. I was reading this and it just started to light up. And so you keep reading it. You keep going after it. Oh, I started serving here. Awesome. You keep serving there. Oh, there's a harvest. You give thanks. Oh, he took that all away. For the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Artists, would you come up, please? One of the best ways that I know to encourage growth, harvest, is growing in community, okay? Community. As you walked in, you saw a big round table. August is a time of the seasons where we open up our life groups, other community groups. Life groups meet every other week, most of them, throughout the Miami Valley area, in people's homes. Some of them meet here. We get together to grow together because we need each other. We need to bounce ideas off one another. We need prayer support. We need encouragement. You show me a Christian who thinks they can do it by themselves, and you won't see them very long. You won't. That vine will just shrivel up and die. Can't grow alone any more than a sheep can survive alone. All the lies we tell ourselves, the testimony of Scripture is clear. So we have to be in community. We have to lean on each other. We have to be sharing and growing. And so I would encourage everyone, go out and find a life group that fits your season of life, your time of week. There's QR codes where you can zap it and get more information. Sign up right from there. We'll be doing that for the next few weeks. Please, 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 please. I get nervous about Christians who do not lean in a life group. There's also the Journey Group, which is an online community. We find ourselves stuck in the wilderness, and we need a space where we can ask questions and lean in and find tools because things get foggy, and we need some focused effort maybe to maneuver a hobby, a relationship, something that's just been jamming us up for years. That online community is a great way to find some resources, and you'll see that spinning up in the next few weeks. Sign up. I'm doing a parenting class that's going to go from September to December. Who's it for? Parents. That's who it's for. Okay? Parents. Well, my kids are adults. Are you a parent? Awesome. Awesome. Well, you have teenagers? I have teenagers. Come, we'll cry together. I have young kids. Awesome. Awesome. This is about parenting. This is about fostering kingdom environments in all of our relationships and our conversations. Getting Jesus in the center of all of it. So it doesn't matter if they're 2 or 32. The responsibility of a parent is to bring Jesus to the center. For those of you who have young ones, we're teaching this class in conjunction with Kids Rock, which is a Wednesday night kids program that will start in September. So this is really cool. We really lucked out in this one. What if we did this? What if we got together at 6:30, have dinner, the kids could go to their environment, you could stay and hang out with me. Everyone eats. I know, right?
What a coincidence.
Such a coincidence. Everyone eats dinner. The kids go learn about Jesus. You get to sit in an environment where you can complain about your kids in the name of Jesus. And we could grow together. And I'll do that from September to December. The book that we'll be featuring is by Paul David Tripp called Parenting. That'll be the backbone of this class this year. And I encourage you, sign up, please, by all means. Well, I've got infants, I have teenagers, I have adult kids. Please, please, it'd be a great time to come together. And our Foundations, which is an important, essential program for those who are growing in the faith, learning the faith, will spin up towards the ends of September. You can get more information about that out there. Why don't we stand up? Community, community, community. Let's just focus on fruitfulness. Let's be thankful for the process. You find yourself in a season. And maybe like my young son Lucas, 18 years ago, his big blue eyes staring up at me. Dad, what are you doing right now? Dad, this hurts. Dad, this is hard. Yeah, but I've got you. I have something amazing for you. You're going to have to trust me. You're going to have to trust me. Thank you for sharing your time with us, and we'd love for the journey to continue. If you're a guest, would you consider reaching out to us? We would love to come alongside and encourage you in any way that we can. If you're someone who's joined us today and you are desperately reaching to find hope wherever you can, again, Jesus came that we would find hope. You can find hope today. If you want to send us a short note, a member of our Hope team would reach out quickly, promptly, to come alongside and see what we can do to encourage you in whatever storm you might find yourself in. That's why Jesus came. That's why we're here. Jesus said there's two ways to live your life, and a wise man, a wise woman, builds their life on Jesus' instructions. God bless.